Heave ho! Heave ho! Under the light of the moon we go. We'll take your silver, we'll take your gold. We'll take what we want to line our hold. Some say we're cursed, some say we're dead. We're in search of a key as you sleep in bed. Heave ho! Heave ho! Under the light of the moon we go. All ashore, me hearties.
Crunch! The boat's keel smashed into the shore, ploughing a deep furrow up the beach. Heavy leather boots fell silently onto the sand. Bare bunioned toes splashed in the surf.
Stick with me, ye scurvy dogs. There'll be plunder in these here streets.
Flintlocks were primed. Daggers were drawn. Cold, dead steel flashed in the moonlight. A mass of dark, briny shadows surged across the beach and up the steps, disappearing into the moonlit alleyways of Dull-on-Sea. It was 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, and Matilda was waiting at the end of the harbour wall, clutching a satchel stuffed with newspaper clippings. She had caught a bus to town with her dad, who had popped into the hardware store to see if they had more padlocks in stock, just in case the pirates had any interest in lawnmowers. Matilda saw the sails of the Black Hole appear on the horizon, and her heart skipped a beat. Jim Lad would be in the crow's nest with Bones, his wooden-legged dog. She wondered if he could already see her through his telescope. She waved, just in case. They were still sold out of padlocks, Dad groaned, as he returned empty-handed. I'll have to use your bike lock to secure the shed, if we're going to keep my lawnmower safe from pirates. Talking of pirates, is that the Jolley-Rogers heading our way? He sat beside Matilda on a bench, and they watched together as the Black Hole neared. They could see tiny figures aloft, furling sails and being thrown from side to side as the hull rolled in the surf. Even with the ship in view, it seemed like an eternity to Matilda before the Black Hole eventually arrived in Dull-on-Sea, waves breaking across her bow as she turned into the harbour. All the sails were furled, and Matilda could hear the slow, rhythmic chug of the engine. Jim's little sister Nugget was at the wheel, stood on a barrel of grog. "Ahoy!" yelled Jim Lad, who was balancing on a yard, steadying himself by holding onto a rope. Matilda jumped up from the bench and ran along the harbour wall, keeping pace with the ship. Bones was barking excitedly from the crow's nest. Jim grabbed another rope and slid from a great height down onto the bowsprit. "Matilda!" he shouted, with a broad gap-toothy grin. He scuttled towards the deck and ducked beneath the rail. When he reappeared, he was holding a coil of rope across one arm, and in his opposite hand he had a knotted ball which formed the end of the rope. "Catch, Tilly!" The knotted ball bounced along the cobbles, and Matilda grabbed hold of it and pulled more rope towards her. She wrapped it around a mooring and held tight, nervously waiting for the Black Hole to pick up the slack. At the stern, Jim's dad jumped ashore with another coil, shouting directions to Nugget, who was singing a sea shanty at the top of her voice as she steered the ship against the harbour wall. Jim and his mum hurried about on deck, pulling at the other ends of the ropes, and in no time at all, the Black Hole was safely moored. Jim didn't have the patience to wait for his dad to unhitch the gangplank, so he grabbed a loose rope and swung across to Matilda, landing right in front of her on the quay. "I got your note, Tilly," he said, breathless. "My grandpa thinks he knows the scoundrels. Come aboard, and he'll tell you all about it. My dad'll drive you home afters." "Would that be right with yourself, mister?" Jim said to Matilda's dad, who mumbled a quiet, okay. as Jim and Matilda ran up the gangplank and disappeared below decks.